folks. And of course, we have the B-17D here. Now, this is in many ways a transitional aircraft. And what do I mean when I say that? This aircraft came out from a 1934 requirement, actually was being prototyped and evaluated by the U.S. Army Air Force in 1937-38, and it proved to have amazing qualities even then. And the first aircraft that they brought out, they had a horrible accident, killed everybody on board, and they found out later that the crew had never bothered to take off the storm locks, and none of the control surfaces would move, which resulted in just the sort of performance you would expect. Okay, so, but the Air Force was still so impressed with the aircraft, even though they went ahead and bought 200 or 300 of the B-18 Bolo, and you'll notice the fantastic combat career that it had in the war, which is about zero. But you'll see lots of things about this aircraft that are just really interesting and indicative of the time that it was built, like the fancy windows here and the gondola instead of a ball turret. And you'll notice at the top it has a blister and so a lot of reasons it's an interesting aircraft. These actually went to war in the Pacific. Later models would be used, and the B-17G that comes in at Tier 6 is a much better aircraft defensively, as you'll see. This thing is not particularly doesn't have a lot of defensive fire, despite what you would think. You have some turrets on these. You have 3 guns in the front, and you have 5 here for the various guns that are pointing out of it in various directions. And so when you go to defend this, you'll see a lot of slots that are just not available at defending itself very well in the D model. When it comes to, you get 16 500-pound bombs with this, and they come out in a bomb carpet. So drop early, and you only get 2 drops. So to the degree that you can, try to make sure that your carpet bombing includes 2 targets if you can arrange it. And that's can be a little more difficult than you'd hope, but I'm hoping with some practice we'll get better at that. But they drop a tremendous amount of weaponry, ordnance. And when you think about it, you know, you get a IL-40P and it has 2,000 pounds of bombs. Well, this thing has 8,000 pounds of bombs. The cumulative damage on it is 75,680, and resupply time is 80 seconds. Survivability. This thing has 1,400 hit points at Tier 5, which is not bad. Airspeed is 179. It's slow. Maneuverability is awful. It's just 25.6. Altitude performance is you're going to max out right at 6,900 feet. At that point, you're going to go to yellow. You can get above that. I remember reading a note that if you get above you're at maximum or above maximum ultimate altitude, that they are going to impose a accuracy buff on this, debuff I should say, and they're going to enhance it if you're below that. So they have ideas about how you should fly it. Go see how it goes. Alright, we're going to get this out in a flight. I started to put out an earlier video, but I realized I just didn't have a whole lot to say about it at the point of this first flight with the thing. You guys really want to see it, let me know, but wasn't very happy with how the aircraft went out. So we'll take a look and see how this performs. I have a better idea of how it flies, and for a number of reasons, I just wanted to have a better video for you here. Alright, so we're going to take this thing out. And it's an impressive aircraft. But its values as it sits right now, and you can see as you look at the aircraft how you've got guns sticking out of the back and out of the sides. And it's not what you expect from a B-17 later in the war. And that makes it kind of an interesting aircraft for all sorts of reasons. I'm going to come over here and go to the military base. And you notice the height here is just pretty impressive for its time. It's a Tier 5 aircraft, folks. You're one tier away from biplanes. Yeah, still. The Viewfighter, however, can and will reach you and will tear you out of the sky pretty quick. And so, and this guy is littered with them. You know. You got your boost. Use it. Make them work for it. And let's take a look at where we're at here. I already wish that I had... Oh, bad drop. Okay. And you can still see, even though it was a horrible drop, and it was a horrible drop, we did damage. All right, let's get this thing back on track. Now that is a track I want to be on. And you'll notice and you get an idea how the aircraft works. Now we have done our bit here. We're still more or less alive, and we are waiting on our countdown, which is still 50 seconds away. And it's time for us to find another target. Alright. So, yeah, it's an interesting aircraft. My best advice from what I've seen now, I've had a total of 3 drops with this aircraft, is that you line up, and the bombs are going to be big, sloppy, wide, and given the nature and the radius of the explosion you're going to see, who cares? No idea. That was my problem with my mouse there, folks. Got nothing to do with the aircraft. Alright, we'll start dropping in altitude, since they said that if you get over optimal altitude, they're going to penalize you. And I need to pick up a little speed anyway. Try to get to my target. Alright, let's take a look. I got surprised last time. I don't want to be surprised again. So for the first bomb drop, I really want to drop on this main line.
Our military base is launching strikes on the enemy. This will make things easier for you.
And I'm going to try to line up right here. And here. I made somebody unhappy. You notice these bars where suddenly you just can't hit your aircraft. That's at best unfortunate. Okay. And we're out of control of the aircraft, so let's get this thing turned around. We'll come back for another run. And we are 19 seconds from bomb load. There we go.
A line of thunderstorms is approaching. We'll soon be unable to provide support. Do you copy? Over.
And a Beaufighter. Now, I do have a friend of mine that, Mantis, and you've seen him before, who just tells me the G is a much better product, and I hope that's the case. We have one drop, and we will arrive before we can reload. So this isn't, takes a full 70 seconds, minute and 10 seconds to reload, and we're going to go ahead and make our bomb drop while we can. And I am going to use boost to get as far as I can in height. Don't care what they say about accuracy at this point. Both fighters just have too much fun with you. And we will bring this thing in. That gives you a good idea of what can be done with this aircraft. And how it can be used. And I don't care what they say about the altitude, I prefer being higher. Alright. It becomes very effective in that regard. Let's go ahead and head to the garrison over here. We're now crossing 8,000 feet. I apologize for the ticking sound in the background. That is from World of Warplanes, not a error on our part. We have about 12 seconds to the next bomb load. We have lots of boost. Let's use it. kick over to the other view and get myself at a slight positive angle. Unless I'm given a reason that I can. That's it. We've hit air superiority. All right. Oh. That, again, is my mouse, which is going to get changed out here. Second time that that's happened. No harm done, but had I been a fighter, I'd been kissing the ground. All right, came in number 2, 7,085 experience here, and let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. Now, 2 runs of the B-17D hardly makes me an expert at it, but I can start drawing some conclusions. By the way, happy birthday, World of Warplanes. They're now 5 years old. All right, 38,316, 11,141, and 557 for silver experience and free experience. Okay, we captured 3 sectors, destroyed 7 ground targets, assisted in destroying another ground target. Okay, so we got increased our top pilot U.S. ratings, celebration mission, happy birthday mission progress is 50%. Not quite sure what that one is. Destroyed 3 aerial targets and 5 ground targets while flying the required aircraft. I guess this is a required aircraft. Okay, so we'll have to change out to a P-36 or a XFL or P-51A to kill 3 aerial targets to finish that one up. So that's kind of nice. We gained 2 skill points, and that has happened in 2 missions. And looks like we have a new engine available for it. Or it's some engine I've already got. We'll see how that works out. All right, but nonetheless, fairly successful battle. Evaluations and feelings on the aircraft, it's slow. I mean, it is in my opinion, this is tier 3 type of slow. Its altitude capabilities in a usable manner are viable. I don't care if they do spread out the bombs more. From what I'm seeing, it's still a viable target bomb delivery service at 7,000, 8,000 feet. So we'll need to play with this more, but I have a feeling this is going to turn into another Henkel where you really want to be as high as you can get it and drop bombs. Your opinions may vary, and they are welcome, by the way. I am not the be-all and end-all in knowledge at World of Warplanes, I promise you. Alright, I'm going to outfit this guy with Demolition Expert. This makes sense to me. We'll come to the rear gunner, and yeah, I want the quick reflexes defensive fire on this fellow. Alright, as it sits, this is a flawed aircraft in some ways. The defensive fire on it, because the bands and the windows in the early model are kind of limiting and troublesome, and I think it's going to be somewhat bait to bow fighters. From what I'm being told from my clanmate is the G is a lot better aircraft, but that will give me something to work towards. The idea with this is when I have to give lots and lots of, it just told me my time for getting the B-17D is expired, so since I'm looking at the aircraft right now and I own it, that doesn't matter too much. But the G solves many problems, and so what you will see in the next aircraft are things like tail turrets, ball turrets. This is a navigational window, but there will be a turret up here. There'll be a turret down here. In the G model, Mantis, you're there. You have a pair of 50s in the chin, right?
Actually, let me pull it up.
Look at the front, and you may see a pair of 50s right below the bombardier's position in the front. You're looking at all four engines and looking into the cockpit.
Got 4 in the front.
Okay.
450s in the front.
There you go. So you get a much better firepower package. This is an early iteration. It was quickly superseded by the E model. It's interesting just from the fact that this aircraft did exist and did exist in numbers. But it wasn't used very much in the Eastern, or in the, I should say, the Western theater, Western Europe. Our Royal Air Corps did get some C's in action, and they found them mechanically unreliable and a bit of a hazard and stopped using them. Of course, that wasn't the end of the story by a long shot. And the story of the B-17 up till it stopped being produced at the end of 1945 was a work in progress. It was always being improved. The engines were always being upgraded. The aerodynamics of the aircraft were always being changed and improved. And so you will see that. The other problem with the aircraft was the concept of the unescorted bomber. And that was tried in the European theater, and while this aircraft was revolutionary in 1934 when it was being conceived, there were open questions of whether you could really stop bombers, or you could build them so big, so tough, so powerful that nothing could stop them. Well, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander, right? All the things that made bombers bigger, tougher, faster was also true of fighters. And so by the end of the war, Germany was deploying aircraft that were capable of destroying these aircraft in 1 or 2 passes. The Me-262 being one of them. And whatever may be said of the horrendous qualities of the 30 millimeter autocannons, it was using 1 or 2 hits with a 30 millimeter mine shell was enough to tear one of these aircraft out of the sky. They would blow basketball-sized holes in the aircraft, and the shrapnel and explosives package was enough to knock an aircraft clean out of the sky. Interestingly enough, its successor was the B-29, which turned out to be a very much different proposition. It had, again, tremendous defensive armaments, but they were linked by computers, fire controls, and ran around at 329 miles an hour at 30,000 feet. Well, now you really need some sort of fighter to get up there. Germany possessed them. Japan was having more of an issue with it, but they were knocking B-29s out of the sky. But for the most part, they were... The doctrine was more successful against Japan than it was against Germany, and had B-29s been available in quantity earlier, probably would have been a different story. They were still being escorted by fighters, however. So, to me, it was the unescorted bomber project, unless it was a sneaky, high-flying, very fast bomber that, such as the Mosquito or something along that line, was bankrupt and ill-conceived idea. And the minute they got Iwo Jima available for as a base for escort fighters to do so, they started using escorts in Japan as well. So that's a bit of the story of it. That's my early evaluation of it. It is subject to change. All right, I have not got enough experience in this aircraft to be making blanket statements yet. But right now, I'm going to fly it as high up as I can get it, use a carpet bombing technique to try to take out 2 or 3 targets at the same time, and I think I'm going to see some success with it. Your opinions, however, count. And you'll notice the fact that I bring people on. I listen to their opinions, especially what I know that they know when they're talking about. Should serve to reinforce that I am always learning, always trying to bring you the best, and trying to share that knowledge with you. And I do thank you very much. You guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. If you want to like and support the channel, please. And if you want to support the channel on Patreon, you'll find that on my homepage for this channel. Thank you very much. You have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.